Good evening, ProtectRs, and welcome to another episode of the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. Greg LeBuff here with you. I have Coach Dustin, Coach Brad with me. And listen, tonight's episode, it's going to be a really good one because I titled it Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Does Hell Week make the difference? It's an intriguing topic, and we're going to dive into it. I'm going to answer that question for you. A lot of people right now, boy, they're wondering, hey, Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Who wins in that battle? Does Hell Week make the difference? You're going to want to listen to this one because I got some shit that just might surprise you. Hang with us. Back in 30 years, I've been helping good people just like... All right, we're back. Okay, so, provocative title, right? Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Does Hell Week make the difference? Now, obviously, we're not doing a head-to-head comparison because we have nothing but the utmost respect of the U.S. Navy SEALs, elite military units all around the world, as well as even elite law enforcement professionals. What I want to talk about is this. Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Does Hell Week make the difference? Now, the Hell Week, the concept of Hell Week, most people are familiar with. So what I really want to do is I want to delve into the fact of, like, what makes the Navy SEAL? Like, what makes them tip of spear? And this is just a great analogy. And you guys, I would love you to share any other analogies that you might have. But if you look at protection, right, if we just break this into very simple levels, right, Navy SEALs represent our military or organizations, units that protect the interest of our country. All right, so they protect our way of living, they protect our sovereign laws, they protect our country, they represent our country and way of living. So that's the tip of the spear. Okay, Navy SEALs are representative of that. They're not the only group, obviously, but they're representative of that. Then you come back down one, and let's talk law enforcement. In law enforcement, their obligation, their duty, their legal responsibility is to protect society. So now what happens is you get a slightly narrow scope, okay? And then you come down off law enforcement, whose obligation and duty it is to protect society. Remember, this is very important at this point. Law enforcement has no legal obligation to protect the individual, only to protect society. They have no legal responsibility to protect you, the individual, okay? So the next step, I can hear my mic. I might have to check my mic here in a second. But the next step then is the ProtectR. And the ProtectR is representative of good men that want to fucking protect their families. Okay, so I just wanted to paint a picture. If we have this spear, and again, is there other things on the spear? Of course. But I wanted you to think of it and say, listen, we acknowledge tip of that spear is our elite military units, Navy SEALs, organizations like that, the military, they're protecting us as a country, protecting our sovereign rights. Then you come down and you say, okay, we've got law enforcement, whose duty it is to protect society, and then we have the ProtectRs, whose individual it is to protect the fucking family. Okay, so if we have this analogy, I get it, right? We are not the tip of the spear, but we are on the spear. And we play a very important part on that spear. We have a very important place on that spear. We protect our families. We are our own first responders. And for the most part, really good men, right, individuals just out living their life are going to be the true first responders to our fellow citizens, to our neighbors. Because the response time, right, remember a priority one call, the gold standard response time for law enforcement is 7 minutes. Well, what's the gold standard response time for a SEAL team to, respond? Well, clearly the military is not coming to respond to any situations unless there is, unless there's a massive catastrophe and, there's a lot bigger problems going on. So our top tier one or units that protect us as citizens is not going to respond to our personal needs. Law enforcement, their obligation is to protect society as a whole, not the individual. And they're minimum 7 minutes out, and they only hit that 64% of the time. So we are the first responders for our safety, our family safety, and for our neighbors. So now, Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Well, which job's more important? And that's an interesting question, right? So, that's one question I'd like to talk about, because this is why I love the analogy of the spear. The whole spear is important. And yes, credit where credit's due. We need that spear and we need the tip of that spear. But we also need what makes up that spear. And when you have, what our military and our brothers and sisters in blue, what they represent is, protection for our rights and freedoms, one of which, and the most important, is the right to life and our freedoms to protect that life. So the whole thing about Navy SEAL versus ProtectR, does Hell Week make the difference? And now let's just, actually, you know what? I'll pause right there and maybe just let you guys jump in and put down your visceral thoughts on this. While you guys do that, I'm just going to reset my mic real quick. So my camera cut off for a sec, but just go ahead and pop down your thoughts for a sec.
Yeah, one thought I had was when Greg is talking about how the ProtectR, the thing that hit me was like, car. What's the most important part of the car? Is it the engine or the wheels, or is it the steering wheel? It's like, well, they all serve completely different purposes, so they're all important, just in different ways, right?
Okay, sorry, Dustin, I'm back. I just heard a little bit of cracking on the mic end too.
I think it actually might be Dustin's mic.
Yeah, Dustin wasn't even my mic. Okay, Brad, why don't you jump in real quick and see where we're at?
There might also be a huge delay.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, why don't you share your 2 cents if you haven't done that already?
Yeah, no, I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of importance, it's, it's all part of the solution, right? So, like, that's how I think I would articulate it. Is like, well, what is the solution? Well, we need the tip. We need the very tip of that spear, and then we need the whole infrastructure all the way down to the very other end. And as a ProtectR, we're on that spear. And I really liked how you articulated it. It's like, yeah, we're on the spear. Of course we are. Because when we're out with our families and we have violent criminal intent and cross our paths, it's like, well, the military and police and law enforcement, they're not going to be there. They're not going to be there. So is it important to me that as a ProtectR that I'm on that spear? Fucking rights it is. Right? Because I'm part of the solution.
Yeah.
Military is part of the solution, and same as with our police, and all the infrastructure is part of the solution to protect against violent criminal assault on different scales, right? So,
yes. Yeah, 100%. And I'll just throw this out there because it supports what you're saying too here, Brad. And the times that I've had to use this training, I've been doing this for 30 years, the times that I've had to use this training, the majority of the times that I've used it have been in defense of other people, not myself, not my family. I'd say 30% of the time I've used it to, whether it's de-escalate or we used it to tactically defend myself and my family. And the rest of the time it has been in defense of other people who were not in a position to be able to defend themselves, who were vulnerable, and who these predators were targeting. So that's just kind of a little bit of my experience and social proof to what we're talking about. How, like, listen, the military and law enforcement is not going to be the average citizen's first response unit, right? That falls to us, which is why our whole organization is dedicated to creating and training these individuals. Now, so the next part then that I was kind of bridging into was, does Hell Week make the difference? And so what I mean by that is, obviously, I mean, I used Hell Week specifically because most people have an image of what that is. How accurate it is really kind of beside the point. But most people have heard of Hell Week and they think about that and go, oh man, one of the most grueling selection processes on the planet. Now, just very generally, so that everybody's on the same page, if an individual wants to try to become a Navy SEAL, they go through BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. They go through BUDS and they go through basically your boot camp or your selection process, which has one of the highest attrition rates, meaning the majority of people that begin the selection process to even attempt to become a Navy SEAL, they ring out or they wash out of BUD school. And what happens is, I think it's about week 6, somewhere in there, 6 or 7, they have what's called Hell Week. And so over, I believe it's 5 days, I mean, the candidates are basically sleep deprived. They are just beaten. Physically, mentally, just pushed to their limits, to their breaking point. They sleep maybe 2 or 3 hours out of the whole 5 days. And it is one of the most probably well-known and significant challenge points, but by no means is it the only challenge point, but it is one of the more known challenge points. They've had cadets. Matter of fact, they just had a SEAL candidate who died in BUDS training during Hell Week or just after Hell Week as a consequence of the physical demands and just the way that they pushed the body. So what I wanted to get at was, obviously, when you have an elite unit like SEAL training, when you have anything that is the high tier 1 type unit, the tip of the spear guys, okay, their selection processes, their training process is ridiculously intense. Now, we're not here to talk about what that process is, but one of the things that I find interesting is that most people have heard of Hell Week. And I think they think, okay, there's this 6-7 week program, part of which 1 week of it is this Hell Week. And then the second they graduate that, they become a Navy SEAL. And then they basically get to their SEAL team and, maybe they have a little workup and then they go on missions. It can take anywhere from, what happens is when people get through Hell Week and they finish BUDS, the attrition rate drops to virtually nothing, meaning that the candidates that are left at that point, they're going to continue on and become Navy SEALs. It's very, very rare if for one of them to drop out. Now, there's reasons why they might get injured, different things and stuff. But what I found interesting is that after you've finished your Hell Week, all that type of stuff, even when you've earned the Trident, it can take 3 to 5 years of what they call finishing school, specialized training, before you actually make it to your SEAL platoon and before you actually can potentially go out on your first mission. So imagine 3 to 5 years. Now, over that 3 to 5 year period, and that just depends on any type of specialties they take, whether it's language skills or whatever it happens to be, they can specialize in specific things. The main point of this, because I'm by no means an expert on all this, but the main point I wanted people to have is that these guys don't get, they don't go home for Christmas break. they don't get a ton of leave. Like, you're talking 3 to 5 years of some of the most consistent, prolonged, intensive training at the highest level, right? Just the saturated experience and exposure to get these guys tip of spear ready. Now, what's interesting with this is then you come back and let's go to law enforcement. Well, the guys that are operating at the highest tier, the tip of the spear within the law enforcement community, there is also a selection process. It is also a grueling process. It is also a very demanding process. And then there is subsequent intense follow-up training. Now, we're talking like, high-level SWAT guys, potentially gang unit guys. Very high-level specialized guys. So again, the tip of the spear within law enforcement. So now just pause right there. So even within the military, we're talking about a separate tip of spear. So you got the tier 1 guys in military that are tip of spear, and they get the most prolonged, saturated, intensive, high-level skills and training, which covers all aspects, which is whole person integrated development, right? There's a reason why they do things like Hell Week and those types of things to break somebody down, because what they want to do is they want to test you, they want to push you, they want to find where your limits are and see what happens when they push you beyond those limits. They want to reveal what your character is, what the nature of the man is, and they want to fortify that. They want to know what they're working with, and so they break it down. What are your values? What are your beliefs? What's your why? They really are again saying, listen, for the type of work you're going to be doing, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reduce you to just, on a molecular level, who you are as a human being. That doesn't mean that all SEALs are good guys and or bad guys. Whatever. It's just pushing people to that limit. Then from that point, when that's revealed, then they start building people back up. They start training, shaping, and molding these individuals. Now, why that's important to go into is because even within the military, the tip of the spear, as the tip widens out and you get lower to the base of the tip of the spear, not the shaft, I'm talking just the tip of that spear, the training gets less, the selection gets less. So if you got somebody that is enlisted in the military and they're in the regular forces, now even within the regular forces, there's going to be levels. There's going to be guys that and sections and specialized duties and stuff where they're going to get really good training and lots of it. And then there's guys who are going to get, decent training, but not too much of it, and so on and so forth. So you're seeing all these different levels here. But it's like, okay, well, what constitutes tip of spear? Well, first thing they start with is the individual, the human weapon system. What type of individual are you, right? Then all of the other skill sets, they can teach you that once they've revealed that. So just to be very, very general with it, but who you are as a core human being. What are your core beliefs? What are your whys? What motivates you? What drives you? Because one of the things that's most interesting about this, of all the studies that they've done and trying to understand what allows somebody to succeed in a selection process like BUDS and go on to become a SEAL, is they can't tell you who makes it. But they do have some very clear indicators of who doesn't make it. And oftentimes it's that high school athlete that was a total superstar in college or university or whatever, often they don't make it. The big guys, the muscle guys that look the part and, the Hollywood SEAL type persona and, they've got the big egos in this, often they don't make it, right? And yet you can have this scrawny kid, obviously who's in some decent shape from the middle of Iowa and never really done much with his life, and this guy gets in there and this guy, I'm not going to say kosher, but this guy becomes a superstar in there. And so it's not a type. It's not what we probably have in our mindset of who makes it. And yet I'm sure some of those guys absolutely do make it and crush it, of course. But even within the military and law enforcement, this is all the same. So my parallel is this. Is it the Hell Week that makes the difference between, this individual that goes on to become tip of spear Navy SEAL, and now we drop down to the ProtectR? As ProtectRs, like our slogan on our website is, because our program, the weaponized program, its origins are connected to Navy Special Warfare Group, Paul Vonnick's Rapid Assault Tactical Program, and we say, learn how to, learn this fighting system that was taught to Navy SEALs without having to go through Hell Week. Now, here's my question to you guys, and I'll ask it to you first, let you guys respond, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in after. But is it really this Hell Week program that makes the difference at this level, at the ProtectR level? At the SEAL level, at the law enforcement level, I think it makes more sense. But is it necessary at the ProtectR level to have that type of physical, mental, emotional selection process before somebody gains access to the weaponizing, system and stuff? So that's kind of the question. Dustin, I already see you shaking your head. So I'm going to let you start first, and then Brad, you jump in, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, is my mic working?
It's a little staticky.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well,
Just go for it.
I'll do my best.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, the word that hit me when you first started talking about, Navy SEAL versus like ProtectR level, that difference on that spear. The word that came to me right away was like exclusivity, in the sense of, with the selection process like that, you're looking for a very small niche of individuals to carry out that role. And obviously for us, like, we couldn't be more opposite. We're trying to weaponize as many good men as we can possibly reach, regardless of all the things that the military may require. Like I saw your ad today that's out on Facebook, and I made a comment on there, and of course I made my comment, and then I read through the other comments, and there was a gentleman on there who said, he was all for it. He's like, this is great. If it wasn't for age and health, I'd be right in there. And I just thought, I'm like, that's too bad, because you deserve to be safe too. Your family deserves to have whatever help you can offer. I obviously don't know how old the gentleman is. I have no idea what his health concerns are. But the thing that hit me is, like, in the time of need, could you not throw a hot coffee in somebody's face to maybe make a difference? Do you know what I mean? Like, it just, so yeah, I couldn't see us as any more different when it comes to like a selection process, other than you have to be the good guy, not the bad guy. I think that's where our selection in a way begins and ends.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Brad.
Yeah, I think where my head went straight away was the fact that we have our right to life, liberty, freedom, and security. And it's like, yes, and our Navy SEALs, the Navy SEALs, our special forces in Canada, our police and military, they have that right too. But as civilians, that's what we have that right to defend our lives in this country. And, so if we have that right and we want to execute that right, like, there's nothing to prevent us from doing that. There's nothing that should prevent us from doing that. And if we're going to move the needle and take that ownership and that responsibility of, like, we talk a lot, it's like, well, whose responsibility is it to protect? And for my family, like, that's me. And my family, they have part of my, they're part of my plan, but I'm the main ProtectR in my family. And you know what? It's like there's no selection. You've been selected. You know what I mean? We're all
Yeah.
selected. The selection process just happens to us when we start taking our breaths. You know what I mean? Obviously, at a young age, I can't protect myself, but like as we became the person whose responsibility it is, you've been selected. Do you know what I mean? And everybody has that opportunity to take ownership of that and learn. And I like what you said, Dustin. It's like, well, what if one tiny thing was a hot coffee in somebody's face could have made all the difference? You don't need Hell Week for that. You just need a desire for that. You just need a little bit of a drive, a little bit of a. Again, I'm gonna just go back to ownership. You just have to own that responsibility. So that's where I think that we've all kind of been selected is whether we stand up for that, answer the call, so to speak, is the difference.
Yeah. No, I love that idea that, I mean, we as human beings, every single one of us is born with an innate survival system. It's one of the gifts of being human. I mean, to think whatever you want to believe, God, nature, the universe, whatever you want to believe, just evolution, however man came to exist, humankind came to exist on this planet, it's pretty tough to argue that we are a special species. You know what I mean? Endowed with a lot of crazy, incredible things. Conscious thought, freedom of thought, I mean, cognitive decision making, logic, opposing thumbs. I mean, all these amazing things. And to think that however we evolved or however we got here, that we would not be equipped with some form of defensive systems, right? When almost every other, species on this planet has some defensive strategies hardwired into it from birth. So it's insane to think that we are not hardwired for survival. Then look back at the history of our species and all of the ups, downs, trials, tribulations, everything, and yet here we are. Hopefully for many, many, many more millions of years to come. But here we are today, right now. So I like when you say that, selection. You're selected from birth, but that distinguishing section in there is that you have to acknowledge that and accept that, right? I really liked how you put that in there. So I think and Dustin, like you said, and this is the part that I want to add a little bit of a perspective on, is at what age do we forfeit control over our personal protection or our defenses? Now, clearly, age is going to play a role in all of our lives. Health is going to play a role in all of our lives. So let's deal with these things one at a time. When it comes to health, we have trained people that are in wheelchairs. We've trained people that have learning disabilities. We've trained people that are blind. We've trained people that are amputees. We've trained people that are, just suffering from whether it's arthritis, joint problem, whatever it is. We have trained people that have had a variety of health problems and issues. So does that play a factor? Well, it factors into it, but it doesn't play the factor in the way that most people think. Meaning that when you have somebody that has legitimate health issues, then you adjust the strategies and you adapt them to meet that person's needs. It just as a very, very simple example, if you have somebody that's in a wheelchair and somebody who's able-bodied can walk and move, one person can move their body in a different way to remove themselves from danger. And just as a very general analogy, that person many times might have far less use for an edged weapon or a hand load type defense than somebody who's confined to a wheelchair, who is far less mobile and can find themselves in very restricted environments with no real easy points of egress. And then all of a sudden you start going, well, geez, that person is very skilled in how they can use a knife or hand loads or different expedient or environmental weapons and things like that to help keep themselves safe or to keep their family safe. Now that's just a physical example. So health is going to play a role for all of us. We are going to age. But one of the things is when you are not training in a martial art or a sport, because most martial arts and sport, they are confined. They are what they are. Thai boxing is what Thai boxing is. Last I checked, they didn't have a modified Thai boxing senior division for men over the 80 years and older. Like, they don't change the nature of the Thai kicks, the teep kicks, and how they clinch. Now I'm not saying there's not guys that are in their 80s that are doing Thai boxing. There probably is. Fuck, I guarantee there's some 80-year-old old Thai, Muay Thai professional guy probably whooped the shit out of me today. You know what I mean? Like, there is, but that's not the norm. That's something that we hold up as a something that's possible but not very probable. So the health part, okay, I get that. Then you come into another side of it where it's like, and this is where I think the point is very powerful to the Navy SEAL, like the Hell Week side of it. When you're aging out, right? When you just get older and you're aging out, or your health comes into play, all that type of stuff. What is important is that the SEALs and the tip of the spear and the law enforcement, they go through, yes, a selection process, but they go through this amazing training process. Once they've revealed the character and you've made it into selection, like you've made it through selection, and now you're into their universe, you're part of them, you become that SEAL. Then it switches to where they start investing time, energy, and money, and with focused, intense training. Now, here's the thing with the ProtectRs. The training's not Hell Week. You don't need to go through Hell Week. Because of all the things we talked about, you have the right to life, and you have the freedom to defend that life. But most people really misunderstand what our training's about. And when you come in for a training session, you will be trained in all aspects. You will receive on the parallel the whole person integrated development, meaning you need to be taught what your legal rights are. Like that's a whole workup or a whole segment of development. And that doesn't take all that much health. You know what I mean? It doesn't take mobility. It doesn't take youth. It doesn't take attributes and agility. It takes the willingness to go, what are my rights as a Canadian citizen? What are my freedoms? I want to understand these. And cut through all the bullshit and misconception out there and stop just sitting there going, oh, I already know about this. I heard this story. I read this on the news. That's not legitimate information. You need to actually go to the very best in the world and understand and have them, and they have a process, they have a program, and you learn that program. That's why that program is integrated into our weaponized training process. Then you can turn around and say, listen, the average person never gets taught how to even just regulate their physiology. They never even get taught what it's going to feel like when your life or the life of loved ones or other innocent people, and you happen to be on there and seeing, what is that going to be like? Now imagine, Dustin, that like you said, you read the comment which said, if it wasn't for my health and my age, I would be in there. But it's like, even with your health and at your age, what if you're on scene? What if you witness street level violence happening to some innocent person, like their mother and daughter being stabbed to death outside of the school? Is there benefit to being weaponized even at this individual's age and with his health concerns, that maybe he's not the guy that can get in there and physically respond to that, but he actually has the training and the inner control box, he has that developed where he can be an amazing witness to what's happening, so that person is more likely to get caught or more likely to get convicted because there's somebody who actually understands how to be a witness, which is not as easy as what people think. Maybe there's somebody there, like at his age, who understands how to direct other individuals who maybe are more physically capable, but they just don't know what to fucking do because they're being consumed by shock. There's a lot of different things this person can do, up to and including, there's lots of guys that are aged out potentially in the sense that like they're really, they don't have a lot of physical power, but again, they've trained and go, listen, how much force does it take for me to be able to use this edged weapon in defense of somebody? Not a lot. How many people would expect that? Not many. Catch them on the fucking blind side, and sometimes it doesn't take much to make a difference and become that life-saving force. So I'm just trying to get the spectrum, but like the whole thing of like Navy SEAL versus ProtectR, does Hell Week make the difference? Does that intense training, is that what makes the difference? So if you don't go through this, like how good can a program be if it's not this hard-nosed, heavy banging, intense sparring, full contact stick fighting, full contact knife fighting, all that kind of, the really hardcore intense shit. How good could it possibly be if you're not in there, walking out every night with broken bones and black eyes and lacerations? But the reality is that, like you said, Dustin, that, SEALs and SWAT and tip of spear organizations like that is a very niche thing to solve very niche problems. What the ProtectR movement is, it's a grassroots movement. And it's a grassroots movement to weaponize as many good men as humanly possible. And within that creation and training of these good men, you are going to have a varied selection of people with different skill sets. Meaning that some of the guys that are older, some of the guys that are a little bit more, or they're suffering from health concerns, they're going to be life-saving forces in dark critical moments in very specific ways. That could differ from a whole other segment of other good men that are weaponized. You know what I mean? And so right now at the age I'm at, at 52, I still have thank goodness, I still have the physical, attributes and health to be able to protect in a physical manner if and when that's needed. But I don't know about when I'm 72. I mean, my training is done in such a way that I want to be still able to be a physical force at 72 and even at 82, which is why and I'll throw it over to you guys at this point, because I think it's very important that people hear, other than just for me, because one of the things I've been doing lately is we've been getting a lot of interest in our program. I mean, probably 3 or 4 requests for additional information a day, and more than we've ever had at any other point in time in my company's history. And one of the things that I'm seeing over and over and over again is really good men that have the willingness, and they're tired. They're like us. They are sick and tired of what they're seeing on their TV every single night. And quite frankly, they're scared. They're raising families in this city, and it's terrifying for them. But what they're concerned about is, what does this training look like? Like when you come in, are these guys getting fucking beat up, being put through this selection training? Are they walking into this tribe of hard-nosed motherfuckers? The program comes from, origins from Navy Special Warfare. Are these guys going to be coming in and getting fucking beat the fuck up, black eyes, lost teeth, and then having to get up and go to work the next morning? You know what I mean? Like, because again, what's the image in their head? Which is why I really thought this was timely and an important topic. But, Navy SEAL versus ProtectR. Is that Hell Week? Is that type of intense physical training? Is that what makes the difference? And I think we're all leaning to know. But jump in, Dustin. Now.
Yeah, I have to give the analogy. It's my job, and I think the perfect one for the Navy SEAL Hell Week. That's taking the frog, throw it in the boiling water. You know what I mean? See what happens. Frog jumps out. Frog can't handle it. Right? Rings the bell. I'm out. It's too hot. That's how the Navy SEALs do it. That's what Hell Week is all about. Push out the ones who can't hack it. But it's full on right now. There's not, do you know what I mean? In a sense, there's not a workup to it. Their job isn't to get you trained up to survive Hell Week. Yeah. Like, you got to do that beforehand. You just got to show up, get in the water, and see what happens. Yeah. Well, we're the exact opposite. Put the frog in cool water, and then just slowly turn up the temperature. So you are eventually getting to a point where, yeah, it can be really hard training, but you've been nurtured the entire way along. You know what I mean? You're moving along with the temperature of the water. You can stay in the water the entire duration of the training program because of the way it's done.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Great analogy once again from our analogy guy.
What I do.
I think there's a few things I want to tie together that you said about a program that's, do you need that, like the Hell Week indoctrination part of a program? And you said something earlier, and I know you say it all the time. It's like, we're trying to weaponize as many men as we possibly can to answer the call against violence. So when with that statement alone, it's like, well, what is the best program out there? Well, it's a program you could fucking do, right? Because here's the reality of it. If I'm not going to walk in like I'm 43, I think, ish. In 40 years from now, I wouldn't be walking into a kickboxing center and being like, I want to learn to defend myself. Because that model, like you said earlier, this is one of the things I want to tell you. That model is that model. You take the individual and you put that into the model, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you have to do the model because we're teaching kickboxing, right?
Yeah.
But we want to weaponize people. We want to weaponize men, and it's like, no, like there's strategy, tactics, and tools that we apply, and it's the program that you could do because it's a program that you could get weaponized with, right? I may not be able to go get weaponized or even participate in kickboxing, right, or MMA. I may not be able to do that, but I could weaponize because the strategy, tactics, tools they could adapt to who I am, right?
Yeah.
So I believe this is the program that you could do, and it's like, well, this is the one. Because why? Because you may not be able to do other things because you may not be able to fit into that model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the best one? The one that you can do.
Yeah.
Right. The
100%.
one you're going to show up for. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh, totally. No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I want to try to convey to people. And I had written down here, and this is just paraphrasing what you've just said, Brad. But again, it's like when people come into the weaponizing process, you're nurtured and directed to achieve your success. And that is exactly what you're talking about, meaning that the path, we are looking and saying, listen, let's deal with, like, let's see it for what it is. Where are you actually at? What are your skill sets? What are your capabilities? Now, everybody can grow and change. You can develop. And that's what Dustin's reference of like putting the frog in cold water and slowly turning the heat. We're building you. We're increasing your strengths and we're shoring up your shortcomings. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. And so you are being molded and crafted and you are becoming a better, more weaponized, safer ProtectR or version of who you are today. But you have to be guided and directed to achieve your strengths, right? Not my strengths. You know, all this week I've been telling guys in the information I sent, it doesn't matter what I can do. It doesn't matter what Dustin can do. It doesn't matter what Brad can do. Now, what matters is, do we have the right information to help you solve your problem? And the problem is, I want to be able to protect my family. Okay, so yes. But the second thing then is, do we understand how to help you implement it? I have clients that come to me every single week, right? They're doing the Weaponized 16. We do our weekly private intensive one-on-one, and they come in. And that hour, the majority of our time together is spent in lecture, is spent talking. And I say lecture, but it's not a lecture, it's a conversation. Because what I'm doing is actually having conversations and imparting knowledge that makes them safer. So imagine, I've got guys that are they're elderly, and they don't have great mobility, and they don't have power. They're not going to strike. They're not the physical warriors in our right now in our world. But man, are they fucking smart. And man, do they give a shit. They fucking care. And these guys have life experience. And when you give them the frameworks and help them understand criminality, and you help them understand and recognize the pre-incident indicators, the sequencing of violence, I can think of 3 different guys right now off the top of my head that were out in life and saw shit happening, saw stuff building, and helped. And not only did they remove themselves, but they took a few fucking people with them. And in one instance, he gave this family a heads up that they were being targeted, like to watch out. And then this family, with no other training other than this guy saying, hey, here's what I'm seeing, they were able to remove themselves from a potentially very bad situation. Now, is that a ProtectR? Is that a weaponized man? Fuck yes, it is. And he is as valuable as the younger, I won't even say younger because there's guys in their 60s and 70s that are in fucking wicked shape, but that he is as valuable as the men right now that go, hey, I still have physical capability left in me to whatever level. Like, you know, what's that song? You know, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever fucking was. That's a man I want on the street. You know, so and I want them weaponized because the knowledge, the experience, the skill, the understanding, all of that helps them to become a life-saving force for themselves or others in a dark moment, and it helps them to come home. it helps ensure that they come home. And that's what it's about. Good men want to come home to their families at the end of the night. We want our kids to come back to us as they get older and start venturing out. We want to be able to pass on the strategies to them to make sure that they're safe. And really, that's the thing. I'm going to just put this in there. Don't send your children, right? I get that question all the time. You come, you learn, you train, you impart wisdom to your children. You didn't send your kids to somebody to teach them how to walk, unless there's some sort of special circumstances. You didn't teach them and send them to someone to teach them values. You did that. Lead by example. It is more important than ever to lead by example when it comes to defensive strategies and protecting yourself, because what you're teaching through example is to believe in their right to life, to teach them their life has value and meaning, and to teach them that they have the freedom. Then send them to training. Have them come with you to training. Right? But that's kind of thing of it. So I 100% agree with you guys on it's the program that you can do. And I really want people to understand that a Navy SEAL is able to do their job. A JTF2 operator, CSOR operator, which is our Canadian Special Forces, they're able to do their job because they're trained. The selection revealed who they should train. And then once that was revealed, they trained them. They invested the time and energy into that. Well, as ProtectRs, what reveals is your belief in your life, the right to your life, and the freedom to defend that. And you make a decision. And then after that, you need an organization. This is what we do. You need people who then invest the time, energy, and absolutely fucking care about you into the training. It's not about the Hell Week. It's not about all of that bravado, right? We have guys that, again, if you were to just, look at them physically and you'd go, listen, I get it. Yeah, I get why you're doing it. And we have so many more guys that if you looked at them, you can't see what they possess. It's not what you see, it's what they know. You can't see that in them. But the second you start having a conversation with them, shit gets revealed. And again, it's this grassroots movement. I would love, this is, for me, imagine living in a neighborhood. We have a very special coin, and the men that come to us and the men that weaponize and embark on this process, they earn this coin, and that's a symbol of having gone from zero to formidable. It's a symbol of our deep belief in our right to life and our freedom, our belief in our freedom to defend that life. And I can imagine living in a neighborhood where you have the young family who they're in their late 20s, early 30s. They got a couple really young kids, 3 and under. And you got this, they're going through all the craziness of young kids and all those sleepless nights and all this stuff. And every day they get up, they go to work and childcare. But this husband and this family, he's earned his coin. And when, the family, just a few houses down where you've got, their kids are a little bit older, they're in their teen years, they're not home quite as much. But when they're teenagers, they're coming home a little bit late or out for a walk or out, playing Frisbee in the backfield. If something happens, you've got these two men, and that gentleman is weaponized and he's got his coin. And then just, a few houses over, like in our own neighborhood, there's an elderly gentleman and he goes for a walk 6-7 times a day, and I see him out there walking, and he's not as mobile as he used to be. He's got to walk with a cane, but he's out there every day. Why? Because it's good for his health, and he's in his late 80s, and it's just like, wow, look at this guy. But this guy's walking our streets in our neighborhood. This guy's out there 6-7 times from early morning to late night. He's doing his little walk. That's a set of eyes that you want to have in your neighborhood. I want that guy. Imagine that older gentleman with a coin in his pocket who understands what a threat looks like, right? Not only because potentially he can keep himself safe, because if he sees activity or sees things that don't sit right, that guy might not be able to make it back to his house, but he can make it to a neighbor's house and ring the doorbell and get in, and move inside. But he would give himself the time to do that. But also, this guy can phone the police. This guy can give witness statements. This guy can get people responding. This guy can give us, neighbors a warning and a heads up to be careful about when their kids are out and where their kids go. And just, Like, imagine living in a neighborhood where you've got 10, 15 people from all ages that all have earned this coin, that have all embarked on this training, where you have a grassroots movement within a neighborhood. What's the crime rate going to be like in that neighborhood? And if something does happen in that neighborhood, what's the trauma going to be like that in that neighborhood? People are going to be far more resilient. You're going to have less cases of post-traumatic stress disorder and stress and anxiety and all these different things, because there is a sense of connectedness, and there is a bigger, I won't say global, but there is a bigger tribe that is concerned with personal protection and security, right? The right to life and security. The right to life and security, personal security. And like we say in most things, listen, it's great if I know how to defend myself and my family, but you need more than just one person. You know what I mean? We've done other podcasts on tribe. You need other good men to also be as invested in being able to protect life. Because I'm not always going to be there for my kids, for my wife. And sometimes the odds are not going, well, the odds are almost never going to be in my favor, but I'm going to need backup. And it is other good men that will be, or that are the true first responders. They're going to be my backup long before the police get there. And man, I'll tell you one thing, if the police get there, you know, I'll take it. You know, I'll take all the help. Maybe I'll throw this one thing. I remember Dave Grossman, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, author on killing, on combat, numerous other books. He's one of the foremost experts on killing and the psychological costs in warfare and society. And he has this really powerful part of his lectures. We, worked with him over the years and stuff. And it's just really important. And, his son, he was an Army Ranger. His son is Special Forces, was overseas, multiple tours. And he said, listen, when these guys, he's working with these tip of spear SEAL guys, first responders, law enforcement. But when our military, when these tip of spear guys are overseas, the one thing they ask is to watch their back, to watch their six. And it's a very powerful moment, because he says, when we're gone, we take the fight to where evil is on this planet. But our families, they're back at home. Our loved ones, our friends, they're at home. And this is what they ask of law enforcement. When we're gone over there doing our work, watch our backs. And, you have to kind of think of this as the trickle-down effect, where even law enforcement officers, they're out there, man. You think that they want a 7-minute response time as their gold standard, that they only meet 64% of the time? You think they want that in a priority one call when they know that members of their society, the people that they, have sworn to serve and protect, are facing imminent grievous bodily harm or death? Do you think they want that when kids and good are in harm's way? No. But that's the reality of the job they do. And I know that there is this mixed messaging that can be, there's a certain amount of gaslighting that happens in the media, where segments or aspects of law enforcement and government don't want good people to be able to protect themselves. But the reality is, I've worked with a lot of police officers over the years. They want people safe. They believe in people's rights to defend themselves. But you need to have the benefit of training. You need to have the right tools and mindset and understanding to be successful at that, right? And to protect yourself legally as well, not just physically, but legally and morally, the whole thing. So I just see this whole thing of Navy SEAL versus ProtectR, and it's the training that puts us, I don't want to say on par, that allows each person, whether it's the SEAL, the military, the law enforcement, or the ProtectR, it is the level of training that you receive. It is the training that makes the difference. So yes, Hell Week makes the difference for the SEAL. SWAT school makes a difference for the cops. And ProtectR training, weaponizing, makes the difference for the protectors. And that's kind of where my thoughts on it. So I don't know if you guys have other things you'd like to add to this. Can't hear you, D. Not sure. We lost your mic.
I just said, yeah, that was well said. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that.
All right, perfect. Brad?
Yeah, I agree. I think we conveyed kind of that essence of what the podcast was about for tonight. You know what I mean? It is one of those things, because people do have those hindrances because of these. Maybe it's the impression, like you said earlier, about the impression of what a Navy SEAL is, and we see that in Hollywood. And when you see, what is weaponized training? Most people are going to go to what they see in the media or what they heard about, or the story that somebody said, oh, I went training, yeah, I got a black eye, I got my ass kicked at training the other day. So they go to this reference point. And I think that we're really trying to shift that assemblage point of where people are really, what is weaponized,
Yeah.
right? What does that mean? What is that scale, and how does that operate? It's not the media. It's not Hollywood. It's not, um, getting the shit kicked out of you in the gym. It's not any of that. You know what I mean? It's weaponized because you have to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's 100% right. You got to be able to get up and go to work the next day. And you
Yeah.
got it, and this process, again, has to hit everything. It's physical, mental, it's emotional, and you're covering all of it. And this is where people are often shocked at how much fun they have, how safe it is. Like, I mean, it's far safer than your combative sports. That is for damn sure. I mean, one of our clients of the day, his neighbor, they're the same age. They're both in their mid 40s, and got kids and family, and they both work, very grueling jobs and stuff. But he come out, and his neighbor's like, "Hey, man," because he knows he weaponizes and trains with us. And his buddy comes and says, "Dude, I'm taking jujitsu. I signed up for jujitsu." And our client was like, "Hey, awesome, man. Good for you. You're out there doing something." And then 5-6 weeks later, they're cross paths again. And he's like, "Hey, man, how is your jiu-jitsu training going?" "Oh, no, man, they blew my shoulder out. Yeah, my shoulder's all screwed up. No more jiu-jitsu for me. I'm done training." You know what I mean? And it's like, oh shit, dude. Like, you didn't even make it 2 months. And that is an all too familiar and tragic story, because it's like they're just gladiator training. And you got this really good guy at 40-something years old who's got to get up and work. And he's like, "No, dude, I can't risk that." And where, our other client, Peter, has been weaponizing now for 5-6 years. He's never even had a single injury. You know what I mean? Like, I think the biggest thing is he's overheated a couple times at training where he's like, "Ooh, can we turn that heater down?" He's standing right under the heater getting too hot. You know what I mean? It's like, can we open the door a bit? But you know what? And I don't say that because, like, oh, that's a bunch of pussies training. Listen, you got to understand how to actually weaponize good men to their skills, their successes within their capabilities, and push them and grow them to things that they could never do before. But the biggest thing is, these men are good men. They got to get the fuck up and go to work. And you can't be banging people up. They can't be walking with black fucking eyes. People don't need that bullshit. They need to be able to get the skills, stay safe, protect their families, go to work, provide good family, live, have fun, and enjoy life. And that's the process. And I think this is the thing, because I just had a client that we put through a 20-hour program, came in from out of town. And every time that we finished doing something, we were training, doing whatever, and he was doing 2 a day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours a night. And every time we finished it, over 6 days, right? So it was a lot of work. But every time we finished, he was like, because he's in his late 50s, coming on his early 60s. Every time he looked at me, he goes, "And my friends tell me to go play pickleball." What the fuck is pickleball? Like, he goes, if I'm going to do something, why would I not want to do something that gives me like real world benefit? Like, I feel safer, I feel great, I'm doing that, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, you're safe and you're learning and you're walking away with this confidence that you're just not going to get from pickleball. And listen, I want to knock pickleball. I don't play it myself, but I'm not going to knock, because I know there'd be a whole pushback on the pickleball community and stuff. It's growing fast, but you know what? It's crazy, right? Give weaponizing a try, because as funny as that sounds, right? You know what I mean? It's you get that real world benefit. So, anyways, yeah, I think this was a great conversation. I'm glad we could have it. I hope this helps change somebody's perspective, or at least pacify some of the fears they might have, and gets them to maybe go, hey, maybe this is worth looking into, because maybe I can do this. Because yeah, it's not what you think it is, right? And again, our motto: learn to fight like a Navy SEAL without having to go through Hell Week, right? So, anyways, all right, let's end it here. So, thank you guys very much, Dustin, Brad. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time and energy, and as always, your experience. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This is a great episode, by the way. If you know anybody that just really truly does and has the concern about their safety, their family's safety, this would be a great episode to share with them, because again, it might just answer some of those questions and kind of soften some of the fears they might have or uncertainty around it. So please like, share, comment. We appreciate you all. Again, the community is growing more and more because there's a problem, and each of us on this right now, we all live, work in Edmonton, and we're all raising our families here, varied age kids. From as young as 4 up to 14, and it's a problem. It's time for good men to stand up and weaponize, and that is our mission: to create and train a group of men that genuinely believe in the right to life and the freedom for man to protect his life and protect his family. So that is it, everybody. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay weaponized. We're going to chat again soon, everybody.